Captain Lee Hana felt her hand shake as she gripped the control panel of her patrol ship. The warning lights flashed red across the bridge, and the loud alarm sounds filled the small space. Through the front window, she could see something terrible happening to the planet below. New Busan was burning. The colony world where 2 million humans lived was now covered in bright orange flames and thick black smoke. Giant alien ships floated above the planet like metal monsters, shooting down beams of deadly light that turned cities into dust and ash. "Captain, this cannot be real," said Lieutenant Park Ji-won from his seat at the communication station. His young face was pale and his voice cracked with fear. "Those are Altarian ships. They are supposed to protect us." Hana had grown up hearing stories about the Great Treaty. 200 years ago, when humans first traveled to the stars, they met the powerful Altarian race. The aliens were tall with blue skin that glowed with strange patterns, and they controlled most of the galaxy. They offered humanity a deal: protection from dangerous alien races in exchange for staying in their small corner of space. The Treaty of Titan Station became humanity's shield against the dark universe. Humans could live on a few worlds, trade with approved alien species, and develop certain technologies. In return, the Altarians would keep them safe from the monsters that lived between the stars. Most humans thought this was a good deal. Better to be safe than sorry, but now those same protectors were destroying human worlds. "Captain, incoming message from the Altarian fleet," reported Sergeant Kim Minho from the back of the bridge. He was the ship's communication expert, a quiet man who spoke 5 alien languages. The main screen flickered and showed the face of an Altarian commander. Its skin pulsed with bright blue patterns that meant it was making an official announcement. When it spoke, the translation device made its voice sound cold and emotionless. "Attention, human vessels. By order of the Altarian High Council, the Treaty of Titan Station no longer exists. Your species has been found unsuitable for continued protection. All human colonies must be empty within 72 standard hours. Any resistance will result in immediate termination." The message ended, leaving the bridge in terrible silence. Hana stared at the screen, trying to understand what she had just heard. The treaty was gone. The protection was over. And judging by what was happening to New Busan, the Altarians were not just abandoning humanity, they were trying to destroy it. "Captain, long-range sensors show similar attacks on New Seoul and New Tokyo," said Park Ji-won, his voice barely above a whisper. 3 colony worlds gone in one day. Millions of people." Hana closed her eyes for a moment, trying to push away the image of all those innocent families. Children playing in parks, workers in factories, students in schools, all of them turned to ash by beings they had trusted for centuries. "Set course for Earth immediately," she ordered, her voice becoming strong and steady. "Maximum speed. We need to warn them what is coming." The ship's engines roared to life, pushing them away from the burning world below. As they accelerated toward the inner solar system, more reports came in from other human colonies. The pattern was always the same. Altarian ships appeared without warning, demanded immediate evacuation, then began orbital bombardment when the colonists could not leave fast enough. "Captain, I am picking up strange signals," said Kim Minho, adjusting his equipment. "The Altarian ships are broadcasting on military frequencies. I can catch some of their words." "What are they saying?" Hana asked. Minho listened carefully to his equipment, his face growing more worried with each word he translated. "They keep using the term purge protocol, and something about containment failure. Captain, they are not talking like protectors. They are talking like executioners. The journey to Earth would take 18 hours at their current speed. 18 hours to cross the empty space between the colonies and humanity's homeworld. 18 hours to figure out why their protectors had become their destroyers." As the stars streaked past the windows, Hana remembered her grandmother's stories about life before the treaty. Humans had been explorers then, building ships and reaching for distant worlds with nothing but courage and determination. They had been free to go anywhere, build anything, become anything they wanted. The treaty had promised safety, but it had also built invisible walls around humanity, No military ships beyond a certain size. No weapons above a certain power level. No colonies beyond approved sectors. No research into forbidden technologies. For 2 centuries, humans had accepted these limits because they believed the Altarians knew best. Now, watching the flames of New Busan fade behind them, Hana wondered if they had traded their freedom for a false sense of security, and more importantly, she wondered if humanity still remembered how to fight for itself after 200 years of being protected. The communication system crackled with desperate messages from the dying colonies. Evacuation ships fleeing burning worlds. Families separated in the chaos. Children crying for parents who would never answer. But underneath the fear and confusion, Hana heard something else in those voices. Anger. Pure, human anger at being betrayed by those they had trusted. Maybe that anger would be enough to remind humanity what they used to be, before they became someone else's protected species. The ship flew through the darkness toward Earth, carrying news that would change everything. The journey back to Earth felt like the longest 18 hours of Captain Lee Hana's life. While her ship flew through the empty darkness between stars, Sergeant Kim Minho worked without rest at his communication station. His fingers moved quickly over the control panels as he tried to decode the alien messages they had captured during the attack. "Captain, I think I found something important," Minho said, his voice tired but excited. Dark circles under his eyes showed he had not slept since they left the burning colony world. The Altarian ships were sending coded messages to each other during the attack. I managed to break some of their encryption. Hana moved to stand behind his chair, looking at the strange alien symbols flowing across his screen. "What do they say?" Minho's face grew pale as he read the translated text. "Captain, this changes everything we thought we knew about the treaty. Listen to this message from their fleet commander. Phase 1 purge complete. Human resistance minimal as expected. Containment protocols have functioned perfectly for 2 centuries. Containment protocols? Hana felt a cold feeling grow in her stomach. What does that mean? There is more. Minho continued, his voice shaking slightly. Here is another message. Subjects remained unaware of true nature of protection agreement. Technological development successfully limited to acceptable levels. However, recent quantum computing breakthroughs and biological enhancement projects indicate containment failure is imminent. Lieutenant Park Ji-won looked up from his navigation station. Captain, they are talking about us like we are prisoners, not people they are protecting. Hana stared at the alien text on the screen, trying to understand what she was reading. For 200 years, humanity had believed the Treaty of Titan Station was their shield against dangerous alien races. Children learned in school about the wise Altarians who kept Earth safe from cosmic threats. Politicians praised the treaty as humanity's greatest diplomatic achievement. But these messages told a different story, a story about containment and control rather than protection and partnership. Keep working on those messages, Hana ordered. I want to know everything they said to each other. Over the next several hours, Minho decoded more and more of the alien communications. What they discovered painted a terrifying picture of humanity's true place in the galaxy. The Altarians had first encountered human ships 300 years ago, during humanity's early expansion into space. Instead of seeing friends or trading partners, the aliens had identified humans as what they called a Category 7 expansion threat. This meant they believed humans would eventually spread across the galaxy and challenge Altarian control. Look at this intelligence report, Minho said, showing Hana a long document filled with observations about human behavior. They studied us for decades before offering the treaty. They noted our rapid technological development, our aggressive expansion patterns, and our ability to adapt to new environments. The report concludes that humans would become the dominant species in the galaxy within 1,000 years if left unchecked. The Treaty of Titan Station had never been about protection. It had been about stopping humanity from reaching their full potential. Every restriction in the treaty, limits on ship size, weapons development, colony expansion, and technological research, had been designed to keep humans weak and controllable. Captain, I am detecting something on long-range sensors, said Park Ji-won suddenly. Large fleet formation at the edge of our solar system. The energy signatures match Altarian warships. Hana felt her heart sink as she looked at the tactical display. Hundreds of red dots marked enemy ships gathering near the orbit of Pluto. This was not an evacuation fleet. It was an invasion armada large enough to destroy every human world in the solar system. How long until they reach Earth, she asked. At their current speed, approximately 36 hours, Park replied. Captain, our home defense fleet has only 40 ships, and they are all built to treaty specifications. They would not last 10 minutes against a force this size. But as Hana studied the sensor readings more carefully, she noticed something strange. Mixed in with the Altarian energy signatures were other readings, power sources that did not match any known alien technology. Minho, are you seeing these unusual signals from the outer planets? The communication officer adjusted his equipment and nodded slowly. Yes, Captain. Multiple sources broadcasting on restricted human frequencies. But that is impossible. The treaty forbids military installations beyond Mars orbit. Unless someone has been ignoring the treaty, Hana said quietly. More detailed, scans revealed the truth. Hidden among the asteroids and moons of the outer solar system were structures that officially did not exist. Energy readings suggested massive construction projects, weapons platforms, and shipbuilding facilities that violated every restriction humanity had agreed to follow. Captain, Park said, his voice filled with amazement. Some of our people have been preparing for this day. They knew the treaty would not protect us forever. As their ship continued toward Earth, carrying the terrible news of humanity's betrayal, Hana began to feel something she had not expected. Hope. The Altarians had spent 2 centuries keeping humanity weak and divided, but they had made one crucial mistake. They had underestimated the human spirit. Somewhere in the darkness between planets, other humans had been working in secret, building the tools they would need when the protection ended and the real fight began. The treaty had been humanity's cage, but cages could be broken by those determined to be free. The war was coming, but humanity would not face it defenseless. Captain Lee Hana's ship docked at Titan Station after racing through space for 18 hours straight. The massive space station orbited around Saturn's largest moon, serving as humanity's main military headquarters. But when Hana stepped off her ship, she found chaos everywhere. Politicians and military officers ran through the corridors shouting at each other. Emergency meetings happened in every conference room. Some leaders still believed they could talk to the Altarians and fix this problem with words instead of weapons. Others wanted to surrender completely, hoping the aliens would spare Earth if humanity gave up without fighting. This is madness, Hana muttered as she watched 2 generals argue loudly about evacuation plans. The enemy fleet will be here in near 30 hours and they are still talking about diplomacy. Lieutenant Park Ji-won walked beside her, carrying the decoded alien messages they had discovered. Captain, where should we take this information? Who will listen to us? Before Hana could answer, a maintenance worker in dirty blue coveralls approached them. The man looked ordinary, except for his eyes, which seemed much too intelligent for someone whose job was fixing broken equipment. Captain Lee, the man said quietly. My name is Dr. Choi Sunwoo. I have been waiting for you to arrive. Please follow me. There are things you need to see. Something about the man's voice made Hana trust him, even though she had never seen him before. He led them through several normal corridors, then used a special keycard to open a door marked Maintenance Access Only. Behind the door was an elevator that went much deeper than the station's official blueprints showed. The elevator descended for what felt like several minutes, finally opening into a vast underground facility that stretched as far as Hana could see. Hundreds of people in lab coats worked at computer stations and testing equipment. The air hummed with the sound of powerful machines, and bright sparks flew from welding stations where workers built devices that looked nothing like approved human technology. Welcome to the Prometheus Project, said a woman's voice behind them. Hana turned to see someone she recognized from old news broadcasts. Director Nam Yuna, the famous scientist who had supposedly died in a transport accident 5 years ago. But here she stood, very much alive, wearing the uniform of a military commander. "Director Nam, but you are supposed to be dead," Hana said in confusion. Nam smiled sadly. "Sometimes the best way to work in secret is to let the world think you no longer exist. The Altarians monitor all our official research projects, but they cannot watch dead people." Dr. Choi led them deeper into the facility, explaining what they were seeing. For the past 50 years, a small group of humans has been preparing for this day. We knew the treaty was too good to be true. No species gives protection for free, especially not to potential rivals. They passed laboratories filled with weapons that violated every clause of the Treaty of Titan Station. Quantum disruptors that could tear apart alien shields like paper. Artificial intelligence systems that could pilot fighter ships better than any human or alien. Kinetic weapons that could accelerate asteroids to speeds that would destroy entire planets. Every piece of technology the Altarians shared with us we studied and improved, Nam explained, as they walked past a testing area where robot fighters practiced combat maneuvers. Every restriction they placed on us, we found ways to work around. They thought they were keeping us weak, but they were actually teaching us how to hide our strength. In the deepest part of the facility, they found the command center. Giant screens showed the approaching Altarian fleet, but they also showed something else. Energy signatures throughout the solar system that indicated hidden human bases on dozens of asteroids and moons. "We have been building for decades," Dr. Choi said, pointing to the tactical display. "Weapon platforms disguised as mining stations, shipyards that look like scientific research facilities, fighter squadrons hidden in asteroid caves. The Altarians think they are attacking a defenseless species, but they are wrong." Captain Hana stared at the screens showing hidden human forces spread throughout the outer solar system. There were thousands of ships and weapons platforms, all built in secret over many years. "Why did you not tell the government about this? Why work in secret?" "Because too many of our leaders became comfortable with being protected," Nam replied. "They forgot that safety without freedom is just another form of prison. We tried to warn them years ago, but they refused to listen. They said the treaty was humanity's greatest achievement and we should not risk losing it. But some military officers knew the truth," added Dr. Choi. "Commanders who remembered what humans were capable of before we accepted limits on our growth. They helped us recruit the best scientists and engineers, people who were willing to work in secret to keep humanity ready for the day the protection ended." Technicians throughout the command center worked quickly to prepare their hidden forces for battle. Hana watched as her own ship was equipped with quantum weapons and advanced shields that had never appeared on any official human design. "The Altarians expect to find sheep when they arrive," Nam said, her voice becoming hard and determined. "Instead, they are going to discover that humanity never forgot how to be wolves. We just learned how to hide our teeth." The war was coming, but for the first time since leaving the burning colony worlds, Captain Hana felt ready to fight back. The battle for Earth began when the first Altarian ships crossed into the inner solar system. Captain Lee Hana stood on the bridge of her upgraded patrol vessel, watching the enemy fleet approach through the darkness of space. 1,000 alien warships moved in perfect formation, their hulls glowing with the blue energy that powered their weapons and shields. "All stations report ready," said Lieutenant Park Ji-won from his position at the weapons control panel. The young officer's hands were steady now, no longer shaking with fear as they had been 3 days ago. "Quantum disruptors are charged and targeting systems are active." Hana nodded and opened a communication channel to the hidden defense platforms, scattered throughout the asteroid belt. "This is Admiral Lee to all Prometheus units. The enemy believes we are helpless. Let us show them how wrong they are." The Altarian fleet commander, the same alien who had announced the end of the treaty, sent a final message to Earth. His blue skin pulsed with arrogant patterns as he spoke through the translation system. "Humans of Earth, you have failed to evacuate your forbidden colonies as ordered. Your species will now be removed from the galaxy by force. Resistance is futile. Your primitive weapons cannot harm our advanced vessels." The message ended, and the alien fleet began to spread out for orbital bombardment just as they had done to the colony worlds. Their ships moved slowly and confidently, expecting no real opposition from the humans below. That was their first mistake. The quantum disruptor platforms activated without warning, their focused energy beams reaching across millions of kilometers of empty space to strike the Altarian vanguard. Where the beams touched alien shields, reality itself seemed to twist and tear. The protective barriers that had made Altarian ships nearly invincible collapsed into tiny black holes that consumed themselves in flashes of brilliant light. Direct hits on 12 enemy vessels, reported Sergeant Kim Minho from the communication station. Their shields are completely gone. But the quantum disruptors were only the beginning. From hidden bases among the asteroids came swarms of robotic fighters. Thousands of small craft guided by artificial intelligence systems that could think and react faster than any living pilot. They moved like deadly insects, weaving between the larger ships and striking with precision that no human or alien could match. The Altarian formation, so perfect and orderly just moments before, began to break apart as captains tried to defend against attacks coming from every direction. Their weapons, designed to fight other large warships, could not track the swift robot fighters that darted around them like angry hornets. "Enemy fleet is requesting emergency communication," Kim Minho announced, barely able to hide his excitement. "Fleet Commander Veltar wants to talk." "Tell him we are busy," Hana replied coldly. She had not forgotten the images of burning colony worlds, the millions of innocent people killed without warning. If he wants to talk, he can do it after we finish this conversation. The robot swarms had done their work, clearing paths through the enemy formation for the next phase of the attack. From the outer reaches of the solar system came the kinetic bombardment platforms, massive railguns that could accelerate chunks of ice and metal to incredible speeds. Asteroids the size of city blocks became weapons traveling at nearly the speed of light. When these projectiles struck the damaged Altarian ships, the results were devastating. Vessels that had ruled the galaxy for centuries were torn apart like paper, their advanced technology useless against the simple physics of mass and velocity. "Captain, the enemy's second wave has just disappeared," Park Ji-won said in amazement, staring at his tactical display. 200 ships were there a moment ago, and now I can only detect debris. But Hana was not interested in watching the destruction from a distance. She led a small strike force of 12 ships, all that remained of humanity's official navy, straight into the heart of the Altarian formation. Her vessel, now equipped with Prometheus weapons, cut through enemy lines like a sword through silk. "Target the command ship," she ordered. "It is time to have a personal conversation with Fleet Commander Veltar." The Altarian flagship Eternal Dominion was a massive vessel, larger than most human space stations. Its crew of 3,000 had ruled over dozens of star systems, believing themselves to be the galaxy's rightful masters. But when Hana's boarding teams broke through their defenses, the aliens discovered that humans could be very persuasive. When properly motivated, the fight for control of the command ship lasted only 17 minutes. When it was over, the Altarian communication systems were under human control, broadcasting a very different message than anyone expected. Using the ship's powerful transmitters, Hana sent the decoded Prometheus files to every corner of known space. The truth about the treaty system, the containment protocols, and the planned genocide of multiple species spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Every world that lived under Altarian protection now knew they were really prisoners waiting for execution. As the surviving enemy ships fled toward the outer darkness, Captain Hana stood on the bridge of her captured prize and watched Earth's sun shine peacefully in the distance. For the first time in 200 years, humanity was truly free to choose its own path among the stars. The galaxy would never be the same, and perhaps that had always been humanity's destiny, not to be protected, but to be the ones who broke the chains that bound others. 6 months after the Great Battle, Admiral Lee Hana stood on the bridge of the New Sol, humanity's first independently designed dreadnought. The massive ship was 3 times larger than anything humans had built before the treaty ended, powered by quantum engines that could cross the galaxy in weeks instead of years. Through the main viewing window, she watched as human colony ships moved toward distant star systems that had once belonged to the Altarian Empire. These were not the small, careful vessels of the old days, built to treaty specifications and limited to approved routes. These were true colony ships, carrying millions of people and everything needed to build new worlds without asking permission from anyone. "Admiral, morning report," said Captain O'Minji, approaching with a data tablet in her hands. She had been promoted after showing great courage during the liberation of the Vega system, where trapped colonists had lived under Altarian control for over a century. "What news from the outer territories?" Hana asked, accepting the report. "The Kepler Federation officially joined our defense alliance yesterday," Minji replied with a smile. "That makes 15 former Altarian territories now flying under their own flags. They are all requesting human military advisors and weapon technology." Hana nodded, pleased but not surprised. The message they had broadcast during the battle had traveled to every corner of the galaxy, showing other species the truth about their so-called protectors. Within weeks, rebellions had broken out on dozens of worlds as enslaved populations realized they had been living in invisible prisons. The liberation campaigns had been swift and decisive. Human ships, no longer bound by treaty restrictions, had crossed the galaxy to help freed peoples defend their newly independent worlds. The advanced weapons developed by the Prometheus Project made human forces nearly unstoppable against Altarian technology. "Any word from the Centauri Alliance?" Hana asked. "They completed their independence ceremony 3 days ago," Minji reported. "President Kim Yuki sends her thanks for the defense platforms we provided. She says her people will never forget who helped them break their chains." Director Nam Yuna, now serving as humanity's first Minister of Galactic Affairs, joined them on the bridge. She carried herself with the confidence of someone who had helped change the course of galactic history, though her eyes still held the sadness of someone who remembered the cost of that change. "Admiral, we have received interesting intelligence from our deep space monitoring stations," Nam said, her voice carrying a note of concern. "Long-range sensors are detecting massive energy signatures approaching from beyond the galactic rim. The power levels are unlike anything we have seen before." Hana felt a familiar chill run down her spine. "Altarian ships?" "No," Nam replied, shaking her head. "These signatures are completely different, much larger and more powerful. Our analysis suggests these vessels are not from any known galactic civilization." The tactical display activated, showing the edge of their galaxy where strange new contacts were approaching. The energy readings were enormous, suggesting ships that made even the largest human dreadnoughts look like tiny insects by comparison. "How long until they arrive?" Hana asked. "At their current speed, approximately 6 months," reported the ships. "Artificial intelligence through the communication system." "Admiral, I should note that these energy signatures match theoretical models for extragalactic civilizations. We may be encountering travelers from other galaxies entirely." Captain Minji studied the display with growing concern. "Admiral, if these beings are hostile, they could pose a threat to every world in the galaxy. The Altarians never mentioned anything about extragalactic powers in their files." Nam activated another screen showing decoded Altarian intelligence reports. Actually, they did mention them, but only in their most classified documents. There are references to the Watchers from beyond and ancient powers that sleep between galaxies. The Altarians seem to fear these entities more than anything else. Perhaps that explains why they were so desperate to control galactic expansion, Hana mused. Maybe they believed that keeping species weak and divided would prevent us from attracting attention from these outside powers. If that was their plan, it has failed completely, Minji observed. Our rebellion and the liberation of dozens of worlds has created energy signatures that could be detected from very far away. We may have accidentally announced our presence to the entire universe. As if summoned by their conversation, the ship's communication officer announced an incoming priority message from Earth. The main screen activated to show the familiar face of President Lee Jae, humanity's first leader elected after the treaty's end. "Admiral Hana, we have received a transmission from the approaching vessels," the president said, his voice tight with tension. "It is not in any known language, but our computers have begun to translate it. The message is simple. We have been watching. We are coming to evaluate. Prepare for judgment. The bridge fell silent as everyone absorbed the implications of those words. For 6 months, humanity had celebrated their freedom and helped other species break free from Altarian control. They had believed their greatest challenge was rebuilding a galaxy damaged by centuries of oppression. Now they faced something far more dangerous, the attention of powers that had been watching their galaxy from the darkness between stars, waiting for the right moment to make contact. "Well," Hana said finally, allowing herself a small smile despite the fear growing in her chest. "At least this time we will be ready for them. We are no longer the contained species the Altarians tried to keep us as. We are free, we are strong, and we will face whatever comes as we always have, together." Through the viewing window, the stars shone brightly, no longer barriers to human expansion but pathways to an uncertain but hopeful future.